don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't go out. So I'm like, I don't actually know what I do. I'm just on my phone, my screen time is too high.
I'm lit right now, I got motion, but still need a plan B, cause tables turn. Negotiation landed at 25M, I'm making a label work.
Last week, Central C dropped his first studio album, and although we've seen plenty of hits from him and a few solid EPs, this studio release has been the cherry on top. The cherry on top of what some would call already musical greatness. As he mentions in his own songs, Central C probably has enough to retire and never drop again. And I want to pause really quick because this video is a little bit different, and let me just wipe off. There we go. Yeah, this is about a musician. It's not about the typical entrepreneur or the CEO or brand builder. This is about someone that relies on their talent for music to make a living. But I do believe that this is the most entrepreneur-like artist there currently is in the world, and very similar to Drake. Without his entrepreneurial skills, he probably wouldn't be where he is now. So I think there's quite a lot of takeaways that people in our audience can have if they follow Central C's steps really closely. So now let's talk about what put Central C in position to be able to retire after his first album.
I've got hits, I can't lie. I'm looking at these songs. This is Doja.
I mean, the guy is not even surprised himself. So if you read into that, you can tell that Central C himself is quite surprised about all the hits he has been having. It is, again, to a term we've used many times on this channel, almost like he's an industry plant. But you have to really give him credit, and I don't really think that he's an industry plant. If you look at his songs like Doja or Sprinter, you can tell that he has an immaculate understanding of trends, of simple lines that will catch on both from a musical perspective, but also from a marketing perspective. And his new album is exactly a masterclass of what he has built his career on so far. And I won't put a snippet of every single song from his music into this video just because this isn't a music channel, but Central C's lyrics elevate themselves above direct and simple situations and put themselves into the minds of the listeners in very different formats. The situational awareness of what to say, how to say it, and what to say it is quite on par with other artists like Drake. Music is a delicate matter for most, so before I go too far and get railroaded by Central C haters, let's move on from his music to talk about the marketing and his branding and how those two come together to form one. That felt good. That last part felt good, as if I got the ball rolling here a little bit. So starting this video, I actually want to practice a little bit of this new 1x1 square format where when you see these borders, I'm going to be talking a little bit more from my opinion and my experience. And this chapter will be about short form audio, but not only about audio, but rather picking up on trends. And I think for any entrepreneur that is focused on marketing their brand or creating content or making themselves go viral, I think it's quite important to understand that all these different features that these platforms are introducing, they're going to be boosted by the algorithm and they're going to be thrown forward into priority by these platforms. So short form audio and trend audio is just one of the more recent introductions, although I guess relatively recent, from these different social media platforms. So of course it's going to be explosive. Of course there's going to be a viral growth. And then next time something new comes around, you can be on top of that as well. But let's get into the details about Central C and how he uses short form audio to his advantage. So these next three chapters, I won't say that Central C wouldn't have made it big if he didn't use the three topics to his leverage and to his advantage. It's very tough to predict that, but I do think the multiplier effect served him big time. I'm not a historian of music, but from my perspective, several years ago, C's first big play was when short-form audio in some of his songs were being specifically used for trend and catchy, descriptive reels or short-form content, let's just call it something like that. And it wasn't like a dance trend, it was background audio for specific types of short-form. Older songs like Commitment Issues, and I believe the other one was called Day in the Life, these songs were getting massive growth because they were used as background audio. And that's exactly the moment Central C realized he could take advantage of everyone else. Every song he seemingly dropped would appear in the top used audio among different social platforms, from TikTok to IG Reels. So, whether C wrote his songs with short-form audio in mind, we can never know, but we can safely assume that when he was leaving the booth, there was a few smiles on his team's faces. Central C knew, and his team knew, that this is exactly what people will be going for, and with the explosion of short-form, he was there at the perfect time. The sample selection was there. The lyrics were doubly so as good, and Central C knew that his brand was not about catchy or moving TikTok dances and challenges. No, it was something different. In fact, you could argue that the entrepreneur, or the archetype of the entrepreneur, embraced Central C the most. For our community and for you, the viewer, this is a must-use pattern in your advertising, in your creatives, in your content, and whatever else you might be doing online. First, we have a very simple idea. And you can catch on to this early, you probably know this already. It's trend spotting popular audios to use in your ads, content, wherever else. So imagine Central C drops a catchy song with 21 Savage, it just came out, you heard it a few times. You can safely assume that if there's a repetitive hook, then it's most likely going to be trending somewhere in some part of the world via short form audio, whether it's Reels, Instagram, or Shorts. If you put up a ton of Reels with that audio in the background, and if it applies to your content, you have a much higher chance of going viral. But rookie advice aside, let's talk about a little bit more of an abstract idea that might serve you a little more. Like rappers, entrepreneurs can get just as much traction via audio. And Alex Hormozi has actually printed money in bags, or whatever synonymous words for cash that you want to have, on this idea alone. His formula, and I'm not sure if I can even like pop it up on the screen or explain it, but basically he tweets a bunch of quotable tweets and he reads them out loud for short form audio, but he doesn't read all of them. He reads the top performing tweet. Once that has passed the filter of the top performer, then it goes into another filter of the top performing short form audio, video, whatever it might be. Then the top performing short form is transformed into his long form content, and he basically funnels it and filters it through 2-3 different steps. So really at the outset, all it takes is writing some lyrics or quotes or ideas on something like Twitter, and then A/B testing them against your own content to see what performs the best. You basically have a content machine in a scalable format every single time, and you test what's going to work and what's going to perform at the outset. I mean, you don't even have to guess. And for Central C, it really is no different than what Alex Hormozi does. The best hook turns into a song, the best song turns into a movement, and so on and so forth. And it all starts from point A and carries itself on to the end. Okay, one quick thought for myself as that chapter wraps up, and I'll do this super quickly, is I don't think you need to have a massive Twitter following like Alex Hormozi to test these things. Sometimes entrepreneurial group chats or just networking groups are enough to test different concepts if that's what people want to hear or talk about. Myself, a little bit of like a blueprint background, I'm always thinking with our growing community, what are ways that I can test topics and ask you guys what you'd like to talk about. But actually, I think there's another side to it where sometimes the surprise and the uniqueness of the content, and not talking about something that is popular in a sense, catches the audience by surprise and actually introduces people to new content, which almost is more appealing than talking about what most of the masses want. But do keep in mind that sometimes you just have to supply what is being demanded. All right, let's go into the box format for this entire chapter.
I was
going to be on the album anymore. But it's been a real thought that keeps going through my mind. Like, I don't know if I can get this man in a suit. Like, he's only going to get in the Nike Tech. Like, it just is what it is. He went to an award show and then, you know what I mean? So
I'm going to be shooting from the hip here, and you'll understand what I mean in a second. We all know those people that wear, or that person that wears the same thing over and over again, and then when they wear something new in terms of style, that's all they talk about. That's all they want people to pay attention to. And then we have someone else, on the other hand, who's extremely obnoxious because they make their style and what they're wearing and their fashion the only thing they talk about, and just nothing else. But how come that it is with Central C, who avoids and just outright says no to guys like Cole Bennett, refuses to wear suits for big things like music videos, or who wears Canada Goose jackets to award shows? How come he has avoided the critique of both sides? So this next part is extremely opinionated for me, and it has zero factual backing, but I think Central C did simply one thing, and that is actually outline who or what he does not want to be. And he recognized most other rappers and artists as quote unquote tryhards. If you played Call of Duty back in the day, or still do, you know what I mean. By trying to avoid displays of loud luxury or extreme wealth, Central C has remained in touch with what some would call the streets, but because he does allow it to seep through on a normal level, he's also connected to his Hollywood side. And at the same time, everyone's display and very loud displays of cars, women, weapons, they've made everyone in that bunch look exactly the same and make them look very fake, and made Central C stand out as real. That's what I love so much about the idea of avoiding style, in this term style, whatever it might mean, and creating what we have defined as aesthetic and underlining your aesthetic with your own name. Central C is actually the prime candidate, an example of showing how creating your own aesthetic versus some loud idea of luxury is always a 100-0 win. Maybe this chapter is really more for myself, just because I don't want to style myself constantly based on references of creators I like, or create content just because I was inspired by a specific piece. And I also don't want to stand out just to stand out. I think that's absolutely the worst thing you can do. I want to make it about being me and being myself, without actually saying, look at me, I'm being myself. Okay, now that we have got the opinion piece out of the way, this chapter is 100% dedicated to you, the entrepreneur, and you can apply this to your brand right away. Central C has embraced, and I should say simply embraced, the entrepreneur archetype as part of his brand. The guy is literally posting TikToks about his day in the life, and the studio sessions or the concerts can be one for one replaced with shots of someone working at an office or a cafe, and it would not be any different from most of the day in the life videos you would see on entrepreneur TikToks or Reels pages. Take the iPhone or the MacBook or the Apple Studio display. You just know that they have a lot of innovation, they have a lot of different uses, but what it will always stay true is being most effective for who? The entrepreneur. And that's what C has brought his A game in for the past few years. He doesn't focus over the top on being an artist or his fitness journey or his running or his overly popular on social media relationships. Central C has stayed centered, almost like a startup CEO. And for our audience, it is extremely critical to stay as centered as possible when there's so much distraction to go and pick a niche. Go and be a hybrid athlete. Go and do this 0 to 100K challenge. Go and talk about your day, and then Yeah, I have no more niches to pick from. That's it for my ideas. I don't know, Victor, if you want to leave that in. But to show a little bit of your fitness journey, to show a little bit of your personal life, as well as the work you're doing, that is exactly where you want to be. It just follows logical boundaries. Don't distract your core audience. I mean, I might praise it, and I don't even do it. I don't do it because I've only dropped a few vlogs on this channel, and they didn't really perform, and so I've completely stopped showing what I do behind the scenes. But maybe I'll come back to it, and maybe I should do it so I can connect closer to you guys. In any way, I hope the advice has been applicable for you. Yes, we're back to the box for the outro. Fuck, we're almost at 10K subscribers. It's unreal. Just over half a year ago, we started this channel with a completely different game plan in mind. And now we're getting collabs with big names and getting cosigns from guys like Iman Gaji, the George Heatons of this world. And that's absolutely amazing. But we're always fighting a battle versus the A word. I'm not going to even say it because it might tank the video. But the support has been amazing. And if you did enjoy or even have a little bit of something to grab onto from this video, do drop a comment, do drop a like, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.